Morning guys, in this video I'm going to be testing different shift RPMs and acceleration with my stock LT1. The engine itself is completely stock. The only thing that might affect it a little bit is that it has headers, so that might slightly favor higher RPM than a bone stock car would. I'm going to be using my Dragy and I'm going to try to set it up to time me from 40 miles an hour to 70 miles an hour. So this stretch of road that I'm at here, it has a nice 70 mile an hour speed limit, and this cross street that I'm parked on right now just dumps right out onto the highway. So the correct and safest method to get onto the highway from here is to just turn on and accelerate as quickly as possible up to 70 miles an hour, and that happens to be exactly what I need to do for this test. So first I'll try shifting when the needle says 5,500, and then I'll do one for what looks like 5,700, and then one for 5,900. Then I'll review what that looks like. If the 5,900 was best, then I'll go ahead and do one at 6,000. I don't really want to go much higher than that on my 190,000 mile stock rod bolts, but the engine will want what it wants, and we will give it to it. Try for 5,700 on this one. Don't see anyone coming. All right, this time I'll try for 5,900. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Well, so you can see the 5,500 was 3.76 seconds, 57 was 3.73, and 5,900 was 3.68. So it definitely is quicker the higher we rev it. So I guess that means I got to go do a 6,000 now. All right, so I'm going to move the shifter when the needle says 6,000. Hopefully I don't end up hitting my rev limiter. I think I have it at 6,100 right now. So we'll just see. There's nobody coming, so here I go. Alright, I think that was pretty clean. Okay, so the 6,001 was slightly slower than the 5,900 one. So the next question is that just the conditions kind of changing from run to run, or some other kind of variable, or is that showing us a good difference? So what I need to do is go do 5,900 again and see if it's faster than 5,700 or 6,000. I might do a 5,800 and then a 5,900. All right, this will be 5,900 number 2. As it sweeps through there, but basically I'm going to go just after it gets into the red. So the yellow meets the red at about 5,700, it looks like, on the gauge. So I'm going to let it go just past that, and I'm going to go right now where there's no traffic. Before we get to the results, let's make sure we all understand that there are variances in tachometers, variances in my eyeball as it judges the sweeping needle, and variances in the lag time from when I move the shifter to when the transmission actually shifts. The RPM numbers I'm calling out are when I decided to move the shifter, not necessarily the highest RPM the engine hit before the gears actually changed. Still with me? Good. Moving the shifter when the needle hit 5500 took 3.76 seconds to get from 40 miles per hour to 70. 5700 went 373. 5800 went 369. 5900 the first time went 368. 5900 the second time went 370. And 6000 went 373. So shifting at 58 and 5900 gave the quickest acceleration. Real quick, let me explain why I chose 40 to 70 miles per hour to test. Shift RPM obviously has an effect on the horsepower you're making in the lower gear at higher RPM, but it also determines what RPM the engine comes back down to in the next gear. My 1-2 shift happens somewhere in the mid-50s, so 40 to 70 gives us a good margin to measure both sides of the shift point. Also, 40 is fast enough that any inconsistencies from traction or how quickly I roll into the throttle are all well sorted out and the engine is cleanly pulling by the time we hit 40 miles per hour. And 70 happens to be the speed limit, so that was an easy choice. Looking at the actual tach, the yellow range ends and the red starts where I'm calling it 5700. So, the next time I'm making a quarter-mile pass, if I haven't swapped the cam by then, I'm going to shift when the needle hits the middle of the first red block right before the 6000 mark. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.